Hello, and welcome to the Old Soul Archaeology Podcast. My name is Michelle Janae. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Are you ready to dig deep? Hello, and welcome back to Old Soul Archaeology. My name is Michelle Janae, and today my guest who will be sojourning with us is Cat Williford. Cat Williford is an internationally renowned coach, speaker, and author since 1994. She has supported thousands of women to move from debilitating self-criticism, fear, and so-so results into experiencing outrageous levels of self-acceptance, authentic confidence, and success on their terms. In her just-released book, The Ovarian Chronicles, Expectations, Heartache, Resilience, Cat details the story of how she lost sight of navigating her future as her body's knowing became secondary to someone else's desires and reality. Her vulnerable honesty gives women permission to get real, forgive, heal, and recover their own resilience. In 2019, Cat launched Your Heroines Journey live show and coaching programs to help women unmask their own stories, heartfelt vulnerabilities, and resilience. Cat has held the coaching profession's highest credential of Master Certified Coach since 1998 and has trained over 13,000 coaches internationally. A born and bred Texan, Cat's willingness to tell it straight as a shot of tequila is part of her charm. Today, this modern goddess lives on the beach in Ventura, California, where she delights in moonlight sparkles on the ocean. Welcome to the Sojourn, Cat. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's so good to be connecting with you and reconnecting with you.
Connecting and reconnecting. I love it. I love it. We just keep coming back around as many times as necessary.
The spiral of life.
So I just let our listeners know all about you, and I wanted to dive right into coaching because this is something that's fascinated me for a long time, and it looks like you've been coaching since 1994. Coach, speaker, and author. Wow, that's a while.
Yeah.
And things have changed so much, right? We've seen the advent of the internet since then, and now just the most recent massive changes this last year where we've been driven to the internet in droves is the season of COVID. What has coaching done for you since 1994? And tell me about the stages of development.
Gosh, yeah, what a great question. What a ride this thing called being coached and being a coach has been for me. How I really got into becoming a coach was I had hired a coach before I even knew what that meant. Just had no clue. I was doing my other thing. I started life as a performer. I loved being on stage, sharing stories, telling other people's stories through the characters. And after I had moved to LA after college, a couple of years go by, and I was so bored. I was like, just not, something was missing. And I heard this man speak, and he called himself a coach. And he was all about empowering actors in the audition process. And I said, hallelujah, because I'm so tired of hearing, can you dumb her down? I was like, no, I can't. Sorry. So he was just really about this whole notion of empowering yourself through something. And I was all over it, like white on rice. I was like, yeah, baby, come on. And very quickly I realized I naturally did for the people in my life what he was doing for me. And so I said, hey, Henry, is there I don't know, something to this thing you're doing? Or are you making it up? And he said, well, my partner and I are developing a course for other people to learn what we do. Want to come up and take it? I'm like, sure. And so I dove right in. I knew it was so in line with why I enjoy telling people's stories as a performer, as an actress, to share and dig into our humanity, to expose vulnerability. And I was just all over it, so excited about it. And I think the biggest changes for me have been continuing to own my voice as a human, not a perform like. And then I realized I was kind of hiding out behind those characters I played. Come to find out, even after those characters, I was still hiding out behind what I call masks. So we all wear our masks, you know, and I've got cute, groovy names for them. And to reveal ourselves in our vulnerability, I think is part of our life's work. To be full of humanity and to embrace other people's vulnerabilities and strengths and amazingness and foibles or whatever. So I think for me, it's just been this ongoing process of stepping out from behind a role, stepping out from behind those masks that make us feel safe, and willing to hang it out there, you know, to be vulnerable, to be real, to invite realness from others. That's been the gift for me as a receiving end of coaching. And boy, the profession has so shifted, not just technologically since we began, but really where I think the conversations can go. Because it was really at first about effectiveness. How do we be more effective? How can we be more authentic and not give our power away? But it's now so much more about what are you doing as a leader? What do you want to change in the world, not just yourself?
It seems like there's been a shift from the masculine attributes of coaching to the feminine, and which would make sense because I think our world is moving that way. But and maybe coaching has been at the forefront of that.
Well, certainly is for me. I mean, my first iteration was the modern goddess. You know, when I started saying that in 1994, people looked at me like, where's her pitchfork tail and ears? She's got to be the devil. She's talking about goddess in corporate. What?
Yeah, right. Yeah, goddess period, whether it's corporate or anywhere outside of the church and inside of the church. But it's beautiful. I think we're definitely coming into our own as goddesses, aren't we?
We are. And so I'm just going to move my camera up so everybody can just really know that I'm for reals here, y'all. This is I've got a giant altar back there with drums with goddesses, crystals, chalices, got Mahalia Jackson back there. So yeah, it's just, I think ceremony and ritual, we're steeped in it growing up. We just don't know it.
Totally. I recognize that looking back at my upbringing, and I can see it with different eyes now and appreciate it. So that's a wonderful thing. I appreciate the reminder. When you said something about coming across this man that was doing this coaching for actors, and you were drawn to it, and you recognize that you already did that for other people. It reminds me, I don't know if you've read Patriarchy, Stress Disorder by Valerie Rain.
It is on my Kindle. I have not read it yet.
Excellent book. But the thing that struck me about what you just said and what's in her book is that she had said something about, you know, she's a therapist and she's providing all of this help for her clients and wondering why she's not getting the results for herself. Is this why coaching is so elemental for us? Because sometimes we can't see through our own eyes?
We can't see through our own eyes. It's that forest for the trees kind of syndrome. And I think there's something also really there where we're trained from an early viewpoint to look externally. We are not trained to look internally. So I think by being coached, we begin to actually have more curiosity around ourselves. So I think the evolution is it becomes easier and easier to have kind of self-coaching conversations if we've been introduced to having a conversation that goes within us instead of outside of us to find the answers. And that to me is the biggest key. When we're listening to somebody else, and we're not just trying to give them answers and solve a problem, we're curious, like, well, what do you view? What do you see there, client or person that I love? What do you see? You know, and I think it's that third eye, if you will, or fourth the third and fourth eye, not just the third eye, but like another set of eyes on something, another set of ears on something, a different perspective on something. Particularly if I am viewing myself as, I'm kind of like in my Eeyore self, down on myself, someone coming along can actually see my good qualities when I don't see them. And so I think that is very true. It's very difficult to see ourselves accurately without practice. And a coach can really help us practice that. So absolutely, like that external source that's not about telling you what to do, but inviting you to a conversation with yourself even is so powerful. And yeah, in those moments where I've been arrogant enough to think I can go through something difficult in life without a coach, the big 2x4 comes out from the universe. It's really, how about you ask for a little help? And that's another piece. We're not brought up to ask for help. We're brought up to offer help. And asking for help feels like a big deal for a lot of us, myself included. It still feels weird.
Yeah, well, and how and what and why and to whom? and what does that make me look like? Yeah, I'm experiencing all of those today. So you mentioned the 2x4, and I like to call it, I'm a little kinder with it, although I've used the 2x4 term a little bit over the last few weeks. I like to call it a psychic love slap.
There you go. I like that. That's lovely. Yes, yes. Well, I'm an Aries. And so, everything is like, batter it down, Yeah, when I don't, like, I think, first the universe is very nice and polite, rings the doorbell. We don't answer. Then it knocks on the door. Hey, someone's out here. We ignore it. All right, I really got to get the attention. So maybe I'm just remedial that way. I am loving the psychic love slap. I'm going to go with that.
I don't think you're alone in the remedial. I think I'm experiencing that a lot lately. I love it. So yeah, I like to look at the coaching aspect as the person who gives you permission to give yourself permission. I think sometimes we get that in school from a really good teacher, but it's so limited because we might not have that teacher for very long. Some of us are luckier than others, and we might have that for a longer period of time or multiple, but it's rare. So that coach giving you permission to give yourself permission, how big is that in your work?
Huge. And, it's so funny. One of early on in my coaching world, I was coaching a woman, and she's 20 years older than me. And, I always, at the completion time of a coaching relationship, I want to hear from them, like what really worked, where did we maybe fail, what's still left for you to dig into as you go forward. And she said, the biggest thing I got was I can give myself permission. I didn't know that. And I didn't even know I was needing permission. And as coaches, we're all about giving people permission to go for what they want to go for, to live how they want to live, to leave the relationship they want to leave, or the job, whatever it is, to keep letting life pull them forward, and I think that is so huge. Like, here we go. I always have a magic wand nearby. And I bring that up in coaching sessions all the time. All right, so magic wand time, get your magic wand. I invite my clients to have a magic wand. What's the permission the wand can give you today? Because we are kind of all 5 years old waiting for somebody to tell us it's okay to cross the street. I don't know why that is. I've just noticed it. So you're really right onto something. I think there could be a great opportunity actually for you to publish something on like this whole idea about permission and what you see there, and like what gives you permission, because for everybody it's different. It could be a great mentor, like you said, a teacher,
right.
A coach.
Yeah, and how often we underestimate the value of the investment in ourselves. I mean, that's the kind of the thing we rack our brains over, right? Until we get the psychic love slap enough times where we're like, well, why can't I just give myself permission? But there are all of those things that get in our way that the coach can give us the space to see. And
Well,
that
and also
investment is huge.
it's huge, and it helps us unpack maybe some of those incidents where someone squashed permission.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I had several early teachers who were full of permission and acknowledgement of me. And then I had this one in 11th grade, and I thought I was a pretty good writer up to that point. And I mean, she was brutal, brutal. She left me bruised and battered. She called my parents on New Year's Eve to tell them I was going to make a D in her class.
Ooh.
And my dad, being an incredible man, said, well, what can she do? You know, can she read some books for extra credit? So I had to read 10 books for extra credit. Now, that was like giving me permission to have fun because I love to read. And I nerded out on books when I was a kid, too. So my dad's like, all right. He hangs up the phone and he said, what up? Bitch with a B. Giving me permission, thank goodness, because I mean, I'm sure some of my friends, if their parents had gotten that call, it would have been a very different scenario. So I was very blessed that way. But I sat with this, I suck as a writer for years. And I realized part of editing my book was overcoming that voice that had been installed. So sometimes we have to uninstall the non-permission. And that is where coaching can be so powerful. Coaches help people like uninstall.
Right, right. And the check is a screwdriver or maybe the toolbox. And I'm speaking psychically with I recently had our mutual friend Sheila Kennedy on the podcast, and I asked her, what is the psychic power of being published? And I think there's a psychic power in actually hiring a coach, just in that act alone, even before you get into coaching. It kind of flips a switch for your receptivity.
I've got clients who say that to me all the time. They're like, oh my God, I took that gulp and I sent that money. And before we even started talking, XYZ happened, or XYZ opportunity presented itself. And I did this, it says something to the universe, that investment that you're talking about. I'm investing in me, my expansion as a human being, my capacity to create in the world something good, because people that come to coaching, they don't come to create something awful. They come to create something really awesome in the world. So I love that piece, that the people that I get to work with they want to create something really good and juicy and wonderful in the world.
Yeah, so true. So I want to move into talking about your book, The Ovarian Chronicles: Expectations, Heartache, Resilience. And in this book, you talk about doing just that. I think finding that permission within yourself to make decisions for your own body, your own life. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my body has been my partner, my silent partner, my whole life. Sometimes I'm really aware of it, sometimes I'm not. And the times that I've not been aware of it, my life has gone off the rails, quite frankly. And my body tells me because it gets sick, or I go slamming into a brick wall because I'm doing too much too fast and not taking care of myself or listening, And the big thing for me, those huge wake up moments that I talk about in the book, really, I recognized that I loved someone more than I loved myself. And I let his dreams become bigger than mine for many, many years, 17 years, in fact. And it was an awakening in my early 40s, like, there's no more time left on your baby clock, kitty. It's got to be now. And that knowledge and awareness helped me push through, because I knew if I didn't make my stand for my dream at that point, I was going to wind up being a very bad version of myself for the rest of my life.
Right. Tell us a little bit about, just to fill the audience in.
Yeah.
So you were in a relationship and with dreams of being a mother. And I think there's some interactions with physicians too, who are telling you what to do with your body. Give us a little history on the relationship, a little peek in this book about what was going on.
So I met this man and we just fell madly in love. I mean, we were just madly, goofy, passionately in love. We just were. And we were for many, many years. And so when we are actually, what I say, wearing the suck it up buttercup mask, like I'll get my dream one day, I'll just help them build theirs, I'll help them build theirs, and then I'll get mine. It's not because we're stupid, it's because we love something or someone. You know, I'm so not about making us wrong or bad or any of those things. Like, give yourself kindness if you find yourself in one of those positions. But a real wake up call for me was my feet are in the stirrups and I'm hearing words no woman wants to hear from their gynecologist about a diagnosis on my ovary. There was a growth on my ovary. And so really that started my trajectory in terms of, wow, like talk about a 2x4, like we talked about earlier. And I knew the opportunity was about healing, not curing. But I had to heal on all levels of my being, my heart, my body, my mind, my soul. And that's what I did. And so that's really why I wrote the book, because I thought what I was able to do for myself with a lot of help from many different directions and intuitively following along. And so I really share like how we can tap into the body wisdom, into our intuition, into the part of us that knows what something is really about. And it's so hard to quiet the voices of reason, the voices, and by the way, my father was a surgeon. So I'm steeped in the miracles of Western medicine. Yet I had an experience earlier in my 20s where Western medicine had deeply failed me, and it was only alternative healing sources and an alternative, more Eastern style doctor that helped me heal my body from an rampant overrun of candida throughout my entire system. And my system was shutting down at 27 years old.
Wow.
So I knew that I had to lean into this other part. I couldn't rely on this Western medicine piece. But again, being a surgeon's daughter, I was holding both, because I don't think it's one or the other. Just like I don't think it's all feminine, no masculine, all masculine. No that doesn't work. We've seen that. It's both and I think that's where we are in our world today. We have to come to what are our both ands. What is it to live in our feminine and our masculine energy, to receive and to offer, to heal and to keep going. It's a ride, this thing called life, and all the opportunities for growing and finding our way forward. But really what I came to is, if I'm not taking responsibility for my dream and my health, I will never get what I want or experience what I want to experience in life. And we have to learn to be our own advocate. Step out from behind those masks and say, this or better. I'm a firm believer in, like, when I put something out to the universe, I'm like, or better, whatever you feel. Yeah. I'll dance with you.
I'm learning that. I think I'm just now at 48 and a half years old, just learning that dance, to let go of the obligations and the pushing the river. I've been reading a lot of Tasha Silver, and Florence Scovel Shinn. And I think I mean, I hear those words echo in my mind. The equivalent or better. So there's really no need for envy. There's no need for feeling lack. There's no need for any of that. Easier said than done, right? I'm not gonna get on the pulpit and say that that's easy. It's not. And I will tell you that once you move into that space, you will be guaranteed to get a psychic love slap just to make sure that you're on track. You will be tested.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, take a little love slap every once in a while.
That's right. We're just going to take your temperature. We're going to see where you're at. Are you pushing the river? Or are you going with the flow again?
Yeah. And, for me, when I'm pushing the river, I am really wearing what I call the Chief Operating Officer of Control mask. I mean, I am white knuckling it on the steering wheel and nobody else can drive because, oh my God, the world might fall apart. If I'm not in control, the world might fall apart. Oh, please, Cat. That's exhausting, don't you think? And there again, it's like asking for help and knowing that it's okay. In fact, it's good when we ask for help or tap into other resources, other than thinking we have to do it alone.
Yeah, I've always felt that even as hard as it is still for me, I'm still with the what would I ask for? Who do I ask? Why do I need to ask? I still sit with that. It's very, very, very present. But I also believe that when we ask for help, we honor other people's gifts. And there is something about this giving and receiving that it's a flow, it's an infinity. And if we stop that infinity circle, log jam, total and complete log jam. But we've just been conditioned and conditioned and conditioned to, well, the buck stops here. I don't need to receive anything, not even self-love.
Yeah, you're reminding me of when I was in my 30s, the woman that used to do my hair, she and I were friends, and I had just helped her through kind of a major deal in her life. She was going through a divorce, all this stuff was happening, and I was there for her. And she knew I was I was working on a project, and she was asking about it, and did I need any help? I'm like, no, I'm good. And she said, you know what? You're really selfish. That someone telling me I'm selfish is like taking a red hot poker and stabbing through my heart. It was like, I started crying. Like I couldn't control the tears going down because I was like, I just see you all the time, and this energy and this love and this help. This is what's in my head. Mm-hmm. And she said, all you do is give. You don't let anyone else feel good about giving to you. I'm like, oh. So to your point, let other people share their gifts and their love with you. We're all wanting to give and love. And it was a real wake-up call. And I thank her to this day because it opened my door to all the ways that I had rejected love coming toward me. Like I said, like one of those kids, those arrows that kids shoot with the suction cups.
Just yeah, it's interesting if we were to think about it energetically, and we're like seeing all of these efforts to give going out from everyone, and then just full and complete stop. There is no receiving. I ache for the energy that must just fall to the ground and just bloop.
And the feelings of rejection.
Yeah.
That someone experiences, because I know when I've offered help and someone says, no, I got it. I'm like, oh, they don't need me. Okay. Yeah.
It's a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a distinction between help and support.
Right.
I was just doing a training earlier of some new coaches, and we were talking about help is what you give someone when they're moving. You go and you literally wrap up the glass objects and you put them in paper and put them in a box so they don't break. That's help. As coaches, as supporting professions, we support people to find their own path, to find their own way. So there is a distinction, I think, between the help that we ask for and receive in our personal lives versus the support that we need to continue to grow and expand in our professional lives, in our personal lives as a growing human evolving, that support that we're needing, but no one can come and do it for us, which kind of help connotes to me. And so there's help that we want to take from our friends and those who love us that are offering it. And there's support that we want to seek out from resources when we know it's time for us to jump up, to go up a level on the spiral, to evolve somehow.
Yeah, I love the fact that you've delineated the difference between the two words, because I think even when we're not conscious of it, if somebody says, "Can I help you?" there can be that stop mentally where I'll be watching for that. I'll also be watching for when it's appropriate to say one or the other as well. How can I support you versus how can I help you?
Yeah. And one thing, I think is really powerful is identifying the resources. Like, one of the things I try and do every day is, what resources do I have to support me today? Sometimes that is my own intellectual capacity or ability or knowledge. Sometimes it's my emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's something like, oh, I actually have time in my day to make this happen, on my calendar. Other times it's, ooh, I'm that person who does that way better than I do. I need to call them and see if they can do that for me, and hire them. So resources can be people can be, so identifying the resources that we need to support us on our path can be a really important thing to do. And that, again, that's another thing we coaches do. We offer permission to our clients. What other support do you need? Like, as a coach, I would never dream to be so arrogant as to think I'm the only resource that person needs.
Right. I am nobody's guru. I don't want that kind of responsibility.
Oh, I just say no to the guru status. No. Yeah. Because I've had a guru before. Like, he was sort of a self-described guru. And I was like, I don't feel good. I feel good. No. I don't want a guru.
Beautiful.
Support me to evolve, but I don't have to do it your way to evolve. And that is a big distinction. Like, I love being a spiritual influence or a spiritual inspiration to people when I'm priestessing, leading rituals and ceremony. But I don't think my way is the only way. I mean, I could be arrogant, but I'm not that arrogant.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I think there's a part of us, and certainly that more dominant in certain populations than others, but there's a part of us that wants to be told what to do. Like you said, we're that 5-year-old just waiting. And yet on the other side of that, there's that wild child that just needs to fly, needs to have their hair flying behind them. They're riding the stallion and they're just like, woohoo!
That's right.
So
no hands, look at me. Woo!
Finding that balance, right? Where you're not enslaved to someone else's ideas for you. You're not told this is the only way. Yeah, we're all trying to get back to the same place. I do believe that. But what that looks like for everyone and what that path looks like is, whoa, it's myriad. I mean, it's as individual as you and I are, right?
Totally. Absolutely. And I think that's so important. And it's, I've had many different coaches through my life. And I love that. and I encourage my clients when it's time to wrap with them to look for what is that next space for them. I always find it lovely when someone comes back to me a year or two later, like, okay, I need to dive deep, because that is my specialty. We're going to dive deep, like you're a deep diver. Are you brave enough? Are you willing to do the deep dive? And I think that's why you and I get along so well, because we're both willing to do it and share that.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of diving deep and digging deep, you're working on a couple of coaching programs, including the your Heroines Journey coaching program. Tell me a little bit about what's going on with that and what's coming up.
Yeah, so I love starting things seasonally. So it's going to be starting on the summer solstice, and we'll go through the fall equinox. And your heroine's journey, I define the heroine's journey very similar to how Maureen Murdoch, and she wrote the book, The Heroine's Journey. And I took it to your heroine's journey because I feel like even within the construct that she has built, it is still so uniquely individualized for each woman. So the hero's journey is the calling out into the world to go solve an ill, slay a dragon, save the village. And through that, our hero discovers more about himself. The heroine's journey is an inner evolution, reclaiming the deep inner feminine, the wisdom, the knowledge, the ancient divine feminine within. And your heroine's journey for me is also taking a look at what are those old stories that no longer serve. A lot of times those stories are front and center and still running our lives. And a lot of them were never true. They were just lobbed on us as kids because that was the way it was for somebody else. It may or may not be the truth for us going forward. And I believe we've got to look at those old stories, the masks that have emerged from them, take off those masks in order to write freely the next chapters. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this coaching. It's a group program. I've based it on the retreat I've been doing for many years, an in-person retreat, and I've fleshed it out even more to have it be a longer term evolution for people so that they go through a full season of this experience together. And I want to just say something about masks. We all wear them, and I don't ever want to make them wrong. I believe our psyches are really smart in helping us develop them when we develop them. It's to get us through something.
Yeah.
Like I know my COOC was born. That's what my chief operating officer of control. Hey, because my father almost died when I was 8 years old. So that's a lot of loss of control. And so that little girl needed to feel safe. And then it was further entrenched when I was in a terrific car accident. So where I support people to look at their timeline, where was that mask born? Let's not make it wrong or bad or anything. It's just that's when it was born. It was keeping you safe.
Right.
And that's okay. So now can you go forward without it and feel safe? Great. Let's figure out what will make you feel safe without that false exterior. And that's really what your heroine's journey is releasing yourself from the old stories and the masks that used to keep you safe, discovering what keeps you safe today, and building that vision forward about how you truly want to live.
Yeah, I'm envisioning the mask being, we've been watching a lot of episodes of Survivor lately. It's the Survivor idol, but I'm envisioning honoring that mask for what it did to serve you, and like in my mind's eye, ritualistically placing it on the wall, giving it a place of honor, but saying, I no longer need to wear you.
That's right. And I tell people, you know what? Absolutely honor them. Honor its mask. Part of my unmasking process is it's kind of a ritual, if you will. And we make the masks so that we have something tangible to remember them by. And to understand that when I'm wearing this, literally, people cannot see who I truly am. They see this. And we walk around thinking, why doesn't anybody know me? I'm this big marshmallow, but when I'm wearing that COOC mask, everybody is like, "What? Steer clear of her. She'll bite your head off." Totally, my Aries horns are down, and I am going to burst through that. Well, there's not a door. I'll make a door. No. Yeah. And then there's all sorts of like, there's the suck it up buttercup, there's fairy tale fun. I've got this whole list of kind of funky fun names, and everybody gets to play off of that. And the truth is, they're all rooted in what we value. So if we value love, there's a certain set of masks that we'll erect. If we're wanting respect, there's another certain set of masks that erect. If we're wanting security, there's a whole other set of masks that come together. And so I've broken it down into a pretty tangible system that people can wrap their heads around and be creative within. I think it's so important that we have some creativity here when we're talking about changing our lives. Like, let's not have it be all serious and hard. Playfulness and creativity with it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So your Heroine's Journey starts on the summer solstice. You can find Cat at catwilliford.com, as well as facebook.com/cat.williford. She's also on Pinterest and LinkedIn. You can search for her and find Ovarian Chronicles everywhere books are sold, including Amazon. Is there anything I missed today, Cat?
There's something around, you had asked me earlier about my trajectory as a coach and my growth as a coach. I've always been kind of a blah, put it out there and then go, ooh, and I think we grow. Like, I have a birthday tomorrow, and I'm in my mid-50s. And so there's something I want to just say about life becomes more rich each year we live. And I really want we women to stop pretending that what we look like matters more than who we've become. And maybe I'm like really on this because I've been looking at this with my birthday. And numbers I don't really care because I don't feel any different from one year to the next. I'm not sure if that's great or not, but whatever, it is what it is. Because sometimes I'm like, aren't you just out of college? No, thank God, I've learned a lot since then. But there's something so important that we own where we are. Fully embrace it and embrace the heartache, those expectations that got crashed, the resilience we now have, the mistakes we've made and grown from, the willingness to speak our minds and our truth and share it out loud. And sometimes that has to start in the journal. Sometimes I got to write it in my journal first before I can say it out loud. But to keep finding our voice, to keep reaching within to speak what we feel is true for us. Again, not guru status. I'm not going to tell you it's true for you. I just need to be clear that it's true for me. And that's what I want to offer to middle-aged women. We're not invisible, even though it can feel like it sometimes. We're not. We're very visible, especially to each other. So, and I think the more we are willing to say, this is my truth, the more visible we are.
Yeah, beautiful. Like, I think what I had referred to before was that it's because you're born and bred Texan, you're willing to tell it straight as a shot of tequila.
And there's some truth to that. I've always been willing to just go, blah. Sometimes I got to clean up a big fat mess, but that.
I need to learn how to serve some tequila, and sometimes I need a shot of it. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Kat, for being on the podcast. Happy birthday to you. I appreciate it. This has been Old Soul Sojourn with Kat Williford. My name is Michelle Janae. Thank you for listening. And until next time, dare to dig deep.